Obscure JRPGs. You know them, you love them, or maybe you don't, and that's what we're here to find out. Full transparency here. We're currently working on one of our largest video projects ever that we initially thought would be done this year, but it's not going to be after all, unfortunately. So, in the meantime, we wanted to release this compilation of some of our previous videos. It features our videos on obscure turn-based RPGs, obscure tactical RPGs, obscure action RPGs, and a part 2 to our video on RPGs that never left Japan, making for 32 games in total. Why that last one? Well, obviously, being Japan only, they're pretty obscure, and part 1's pretty old now and not that good, so yeah. Plus, people are probably going to throw this on before bed anyway, so more length isn't a bad thing. But yeah, we're really looking forward to getting this big video out. It's one you guys have been asking for a long time. Any guesses in the comments? Let us know. But alright, let's get things underway. Cue the intro.
The light is your guide.
A dream is what keeps you going.
Now is the time to shape your story. Your fate is in your hands.
To start off this list, we have Vanguard Bandits. Vanguard Bandits was released for the PS1 in 1998 in Japan and 2000 in North America, and was developed by the company Human Entertainment. Human Entertainment was a pretty obscure and now defunct developer. They were probably best known for the Fire Pro Wrestling series, which largely never left Japan, and the Clock Tower series, an early survival horror series which seems to be a bit of a cult classic these days. Oh yeah, how could we forget about the publisher, Working Designs? They always put so much love and care into their packaging, and this is no exception. I especially love the instruction manual. It's so cool. As far as the actual game goes, in terms of its quality compared to how unknown it is, this might be the biggest hidden gem on this list. I mean, you got a cool mecha setting, branching storyline paths, a simple and serviceable battle system, pretty good music, and yeah, it's just a good time. The story has you playing as young Bastion as he gets caught up in political struggles between warring nations. Pretty standard stuff for tactical RPGs. What's not typical though are the 3 storylines you can follow that have different battles and different endings. This gives the game a lot of replayability, and considering you can beat it in under 20 hours, it's perfect for that. Many tactical RPGs are long, arguably too long, so thankfully that is not the case here. When it comes to battles, it's like your standard tactical RPG fare. However, there is one thing I really like, or actually 2 things. 1. The little animation and dialogue you get when attacking enemies is a nice touch. And 2. Upon leveling up, you can choose what stats you want to increase. No more getting garbage stat games like in Fire Emblem. You can build your characters however you want. When you combine all this with a really cool mecha medieval fantasy setting, you have a quality gem here. Apparently, I'm not the only one that thinks so. For all you Gurren Lagann fans out there, does this design look familiar? Yeah, thought so. Out of all the things to take inspiration from, I can't believe Vanguard Bandits was one of them. Pretty cool stuff. Unfortunately, Vanguard Bandits only ever came out for the PS1. You can still buy it as a PS1 classic on the PS3 store though. Yes, the PS3 store, so who knows for how long. Overall, Vanguard Bandits is just a super charming game. It's worth checking out. The next game we have on our list is Legaia 2 Duel Saga. Legaia 2 Duel Saga was developed by Procyon and came out for the PS2. I never liked this little border that the publisher Fresh Games put around the case. They did the same thing with Mr. Mosquito and Mad Maestro. Like, no other publisher did something like this. Why did you guys think you were cool enough to do this? Anyway, Legaia 2. This is an indirect sequel to Legend of Legaia on the PS1, and yeah, if I'm being completely honest, it's definitely not as good. The original is the first serious JRPG I ever played and one of my all-time favorites. Hell, it's even in our channel intro, so you know it's good. So why am I not talking about that one then? Well, the second one is just a lot more obscure. Everyone always talks about the original and never the follow-up, including myself. I don't think I've ever talked about it on the channel before, so yeah, perfect time to now. The main draw of Legaia 2 is definitely the gameplay. Fortunately, in this aspect, it does match the first. It kind of combines like combos in fighting games with turn-based combat. You combine left and right punches and kicks together to create combos, or as the game calls them, arts. As the game goes on, you'll be able to use bigger and bigger arts, and it's pretty cool. What's not that cool is the story, unfortunately. It's pretty basic, save the world and defeat the bad guy, and yeah, for PS2 standards, it's not great. Especially considering the first game had a really good story. The main scenario writer of the first game didn't even work on the second game, so yeah, it does make sense why it didn't capture that same magic. Apparently, he even got kicked off the development of Legaia 2 due to disagreement about the game's plot. Yeah, they did this dude dirty. Alright, last thing I'll say before moving on. The music is pretty damn good. Yasunori Mitsuda of Chrono Trigger and Chrono Cross fame composed some of the tracks, and you can definitely tell. It's got that signature Mitsuda sound, it's so good. Overall, Legaia 2 may not be the greatest turn-based RPG, but it does have pretty fun gameplay and it is quite obscure. Coming up next, we have Jade Cocoon, Story of the Tamamayu. Jade Cocoon was developed by the company Genki and came out for the PS1. One thing instantly might stick out to you: the character design. Well, that's because it was done by Katsuya Kondo, one of the character designers for Studio Ghibli. That factor alone gives this game a very distinguishable feel. It's like a monster capturing and raising game as well, so yeah, it's like a really unique experience. The story has you playing as Levant, a young cocoon master trying to lift a curse from his village. I think the plot has really interesting lore, it's just not really told that well, I think. It's also only like 15 hours long, so it's kind of over before you know it. But that said, it is gorgeous to look at. These are some of the prettiest pre-rendered backgrounds on the entire console. Major Princess Mononoke vibes. As previously stated, there is a monster capturing mechanic in Jade Cocoon. You can also fuse them together and pass down abilities and appearances, and yeah, it's quite interesting. Battles are only one-on-one though, so nah. The sequel on the PS2 would expand upon this, however. It's arguably even more obscure as well. We already had a couple PS2 games on this list though, so maybe I'll talk about it in the future. Anyway, don't expect a masterpiece with Jade Cocoon. But if you want a unique, turn-based, monster-capturing RPG with a beautiful aesthetic, then this one is worth checking out.
The tune of a cocoon master is such an enchanting sound. You will be a cocoon master someday.
The next game we have on our list is Tengai Makyo: The Apocalypse 4. It was developed by Hudson Soft and Red Company and was released for the Sega Saturn. There was later a port to the PSP as well. Despite the 4 in the title, it's actually the 8th entry in a long-running series that never left Japan. Yeah, not a single one. Oh yeah, I should note the series is also known as Far East of Eden. We covered the Super Nintendo game, Tengai Makyo Zero, in our part 1, and that one does have an English fan translation though. Sadly, this one does not. Maybe one day some good Samaritans can take this task on though. Apocalypse 4 stands out for being the only game in the series to not take place in fictionalized Japan. Instead, it takes place in fictionalized 1890s America. Seeing all these real-life locations being depicted as completely inaccurate JRPG towns is super charming. Speaking of charm, look at these battle graphics. They're all hand-drawn and look so incredible. These are some of the most stylish turn-based battles I've ever seen. Battles themselves don't seem to be super complex, but from what I've gathered online, there are some kind of unique elements like sharing magic with all your party members and being able to form combo attacks. Other than that, I don't have too much else to say because, yeah, I have not played it myself. If it ever gets a translation though, you can bet your ass I'm gonna be on it. I know a lot of people that have played it consider it to be one of the very best Saturn RPGs. Coming up next, we have Just Breed. Yeah, either the publisher Enix or the developer Random House chose a pretty random name. In their defense, I think they mean just as in righteous, so like he's of a righteous breed, but yeah, that's not really the first thing people think of. Weird name aside, Just Breed is definitely a contender for the best NES RPG. This just makes it even crazier that it never left Japan. In retrospect, it's not hard to see why though. It came out in December of 1992. Not only was this halfway through the Super Nintendo's lifespan already, but the PlayStation came out in Japan not even 2 years later. Yeah, this one had zero hope of ever getting translated to English. It's a shame because for NES standards, it's really good. It's a tactical RPG with overworld exploration. Most tactical RPGs now still don't let you do this. I know for some people, this is a big enough selling point alone. Combat itself is fairly standard, however it does have some notable features. You control armies of 6 units that all have to move together at once. You can have up to 36 total units on the battlefield, it's kind of a lot. You can also heal from wherever on the battlefield too, so that's pretty cool. Story-wise, you're trying to stop an ancient evil from being resurrected by saving some priestesses. I mean, it's an NES RPG, story's not too important here. What is important though is that it does have an English fan translation. So yeah, if you're a fan of old school RPGs and want to see the best that NES has to offer, definitely try this one out. The next game we have on our list is Sayuki Journey West. Sayuki was released for the PS1 and was developed by the company Koei. I never knew how to pronounce that, I think that's right. This is another one that I'm kind of inclined to call a hidden gem. It's not a masterpiece or anything, but it's a very competent, well-made game that flew completely under the radar. I mean, it came out in North America in August 2001, just 4 months before Final Fantasy X released on the PS2. Yeah, enough said. It's a shame too, as it's a really cool game. As you can probably infer from the title, it's loosely based on the ancient Chinese novel, Journey to the West. You play as the Buddhist monk Sanzo, who can either be male or female, as you journey west from China to India. Along the way, a colorful cast of characters join you, like everyone's favorite Son Goku and many other characters from the novel. I really like the whole ancient Asian setting, as surprisingly, we don't really get a lot of these in the genre. If you also like this setting, you might want to check out our video about RPGs that take place in ancient Asia. Sayuki rightfully has a spot there too. When it comes to battles, they don't reinvent the wheel or anything, but they are simple and fun. It's like tactical RPG comfort food. There are these cool wear changes though where your party members turn into like monsters. Think Uzuru from Dragon Ball. Overall, Sayuki Journey West is not an experience that's gonna blow you away or anything. It doesn't really do any one aspect extraordinarily well, however, the sum of its parts make it a fun little tactical RPG romp. You may not walk away with your mind blown, but at the least, you will walk away with the words Magic Son Goku stuck in it.
Magic Son Goku, Magic Son Goku, Magic Son Goku, Magic Son Goku.
The next game we have on our list is Magna Carta 2. Magna Carta 2 was developed by Softmax and released for the Xbox 360. I was torn between either including this one or Infinite Undiscovery, but I think this one is a little bit more obscure. I mean, Softmax was a pretty small Korean studio, so yeah. This was actually a sequel to a PS2 title, which was also quite obscure. Oh, and I guess that one was also a sequel to a Korean-only PC title. So Magna Carta 2 is the third entry in the series? The story in Magna Carta 2 is fine. The main character has amnesia and has this hidden power to turn the tide in a war, and yeah, it's not the most original thing out there, but it's serviceable enough, I guess. There's a lot of heavy hitters in the voice acting department at least. It's like an all-star cast of late 90s and early 2000s dubs. I mean, you got Johnny Young Bosch, Yuri Lowenthal, Wendy Lee, Steve Bloom, Crispin Freeman, Laura Bailey. Yeah, the whole works is here. I think the presentation in general is pretty good. Graphics are vibrant and some tracks really stuck out to me. As far as gameplay goes, it's a lot more fast-paced than its predecessor. You build up this meter to pull off abilities, and you can switch between party members to pull off combo chain attacks, and yeah, I thought it was pretty fun. Just being able to switch characters in an action RPG is always nice. The playstyles vary as well, as you got ranged and melee. All in all, Magna Carta 2 may not be the most original game out there, but if you want a pretty simple, shonen anime type action RPG to play, you can certainly do a lot worse.
I can't back down. Stand against them together.
Princess, I'll take care of it.
The next game we have on our list is Sokaigi. I think that's right, but not sure. It was released for the PS1 in 1998. Squaresoft published this game, but the company that actually developed it was Yuke's. Even though they didn't directly make it, it's still one of the most obscure titles Square has ever attached their name to. Even for you Square aficionados out there, I'm willing to bet a good amount of you haven't even heard of this one. I mean, it's Japanese only, and to this day, still doesn't have an English fan translation, so yeah, it makes sense. From what I've played of it, there might be a reason why. To the game's credit, there's a lot of really cool ideas. There's multiple playable characters with different movesets. There's a pretty in-depth skill and magic system. The setting and environments have a nice vibe. And yeah, it's got some cool things going for it. That said, it pains me to say that the gameplay is just not that great. Movement's a little stiff and attacking enemies is kind of janky. It's a shame because there's a lot of potential here. Presentation-wise, the game has a shit ton of cutscenes and voice acting. For a PS1 title, this amount is super impressive.
そんなの知るか。大体な、俺がその剣をやったのは頼神と戦うためじゃねえんだぞ。
もう遅いわよ。そうだ。防除班、やめるわ。
It's why the game needed 3 discs. By the way, look at how cool these are. However, the most impressive thing about Sokaigi is the OST. It was composed by Hiroki Kikuta, the guy behind the music in Secret of Mana and Trials of Mana. He really made use of that Squaresoft budget and utilized live orchestral music. This is hands down gotta be one of the best OSTs on the entire system, it's that good. Seriously, give it a listen on YouTube. It's too bad the actual gameplay doesn't have that same polish. I still would love to give it a full playthrough sometime though. If this does ever get an English translation, expect a retrospective. And to start off the second half of this list, we have Tales of Destiny Director's Cut. The original Tales of Destiny released for the PS1, and that one did come out in the West. This Director's Cut for the PS2 did not though. This sucks because to many people it's not only the definitive version, but it's also one of the best games in the entire series. First of all, the presentation and the gameplay is a huge improvement. I think this game is absolutely gorgeous. The sprites have so much charm and detail, and the backgrounds are incredible. I just love this 2D, 3D style, it's so good. The battle system is also much more polished. It's probably my favorite 2D combat in the series. The visuals and the gameplay were always my biggest gripes with the original, as I love the story and characters, so having these two things fixed here was perfect for me. In addition to this, there's also just a lot of extra content. Too much to name, really. One of the biggest inclusions, though, is the ability to play from the perspective of Leon. This is a really cool addition. Want to know the coolest thing, though? This one finally got a fan translation a few years ago. So yeah, if you're curious to check out some of the best the Tales series has to offer, there's no better time than the present. The next game we have on our list is Cartia, The Word of Fate. Cartia is another Atlas game that came out for the PS1. For all you old school Final Fantasy fans, you'll probably instantly recognize the art. Yoshitaka Amano has a very distinct style, and it's on full display here. It's not just all style and no substance though. Cartia does have some interesting mechanics. There's this card fusion system, you can summon phantoms, kinda similar to Phantom Brave actually. There's sort of a take on a weapons triangle mechanic, and every character has 100 HP. There's also unique height advantages to specific weapon types. However, by far the coolest mechanic is the transformable terrain. Certain magic spells can alter the environment, and it's really neat. A lot of people love to praise the Divinity Original Sin games for this mechanic, and okay, I'm not gonna act like Cartia is as good or is as deep as those games, but still, credit given where it's due. Cartia did it first. I don't know if it's the first tactical RPG ever to do this, but it's the earliest one I know at least. When it comes to the story, you can play as one of two scenarios, Toxas or Lacrimas. Both characters are members of a group called the Vigilance, where Toxa serves as a young knight and Lacrima a shrine warrior. They intertwine at various segments, and it's pretty interesting. To fully grasp the story, you're going to want to play both, as they each have their own characters and endings. Overall, Cartia is a solid little title. If I'm being completely honest, out of all the PS1 games on this list, it is my least favorite, but I can still recommend it. If it looks interesting to you, it's worth checking out. The next game we have on our list is Grandia Extreme. Grandia Extreme was developed by Game Arts and was released for the PS2. It's not a part of the mainline series actually, and instead is a spin-off. That was the right move, I'd say, as while the feel of the series was captured well, the structure of the game is very different. It's more of a dungeon crawler with only one town in the game. Admittedly, this did turn me off the first time playing it as a kid because I was expecting something, not that. Revisiting it later though, I was like, okay, it's actually pretty fun. I mean, first of all, the dungeons are massive, so if you like dungeons, then, well, this game's probably for you. There are visible enemies too, so you don't have to worry about an absurdly high encounter rate. The battle system has gotta be the best thing about this game though. It takes the turn-based and real-time hybrid system from the first two games where you can cancel enemies' attacks and shit, and improves upon it even further. There's more magic and more combo attacks between characters, and yeah, it's just an incredibly fun time. Speaking of characters, we have our biggest playable cast in the series. There's different races and species and stuff, and you always have the freedom to pick and choose who you want in your party, and it's just cool. When it comes to their development though, there's not much here. Same with the story. This is not a game you play for a strong narrative. You play for the fun gameplay, and that's pretty much it. By the way though, the legendary Mark Hamill does voice one of the characters.
Silly boy. So wrapped up in your emotions, you lose sight of opportunity. Is whining your idea of maturity? You can't grasp the situation or make a decision, and you're constantly complaining. How pathetic.
For as prolific of a career as he's had, this has easily got to be one of his lesser known roles ever, so I just thought that was pretty interesting. But yeah, Grandia Extreme, definitely the most obscure title in the series. Well, out of the North American entries at least. Maybe I'll talk about Parallel Trippers another time. Anyway, if you like the gameplay of the Grandia series and don't really care about the story, check this one out for sure.
This'll blow you away.
Coming up next, we have Crimson Gem Saga. Crimson Gem Saga was developed by the South Korean studio Ironos and was released for the PSP. I actually played this one upon release and thought it was a pretty fun little title. It doesn't like reinvent the wheel or anything, but it does the basics pretty well. Likeable enough characters, a cool skill upgrade system, some weapon customization, combination attacks, and yeah, it's not a bad time. I really love how it shows the turn order on screen. Visible enemies on screen is a nice touch too. It is pretty grindy and difficult though, so if you want a light and breezy experience, this one may not be for you. The story has you playing as Killian, a recent graduate of Green Hill Academy, as he gets caught up in a quest searching for an ancient artifact, the Sapphire Crystal. Nah, I'm just kidding, it's the Crimson Gem, what the fuck did you expect? The overarching plot is fun, it's not bad, it's just pretty generic, but about par for the course for a game like this. With that said though, I did find the voice acting pretty solid.
Second place again? I'm sick of always being second best.
Technically, this game is a sequel to Astonicia's story, but it has like such little to do with that game that they just changed the name. That game also fucking sucks and has like a 50% on Metacritic, so yeah, probably a wise move. Crimson Gem Saga was also supposed to have a sequel, but sadly it never came to fruition. Oh well, at least we got this one. It's not gonna blow you away, but if you want to play a pretty obscure turn-based RPG that not many people have heard of, you can certainly do a lot worse. Coming up next, we have Boktai, The Sun is in Your Hand. Boktai was released for the GBA and developed by Konami. The game was actually designed by Hideo Kojima himself. Some of you might be asking, can one of his games really be considered obscure? I think so. It's easily one of his most lesser-known titles. Is Duel not an obscure film just because Steven Spielberg directed it? I actually don't know, I had to Google that myself, but anyways, the point being is that Boktai is obscure enough. It's also incredibly unique. Video games have been a lot of things over the years, but they've never really been an outdoor activity. Hell, that's a large part of the appeal for a lot of people. Hideo Kojima saw that and was like, nah, screw that, I'm gonna make you nerds go outside. In Boktai, you play as a vampire hunter, and your gun is powered by solar energy. Real life solar energy. This means you actually have to go outside and be in the sun to play it. Well, you don't have to, it just makes it easier. There are in-game stations to recharge your solar energy at, but you'll have to avoid enemies until then. Stealth is a pretty big part of the game. Yeah, go figure, right? Puzzles are as well. There's also a day and night mechanic which factors in when vampires can appear. It's pretty cool. What's also pretty cool is the music. This has gotta be some of the highest quality sounding music on the GBA, period. I mean, it is Konami after all. Boktai did actually get a sequel, which is probably even more obscure than this one, but alas, I have not played it. The original is good though, and worth playing. Oh yeah, and if you don't want to worry about the whole sun mechanic, there is a patch you can download to get rid of it. Coming up next, we have Mystic Arc. Mystic Arc was developed by the company Produce and released for the Super Famicom. Yeah, the first Super Famicom game on the list. Most videos on this topic often focus on this system, so I wanted to show some love to other consoles. But yeah, the team behind the 7th Saga actually made this one. I know that just triggered some PTSD for some of you out there. That one did come out in the West and is infamously known as being one of the hardest JRPGs of all time. If you want to hear more about it, check out our video about difficult JRPGs that will challenge you. As far as Mystic Arc goes, it's kind of a sequel to the 7th Saga, but also not really. It was initially supposed to be released in North America as the 7th Saga 2, but that obviously never happened. Story-wise, it really has nothing to do with that game, however, the visual similarities are easy to notice. Battles look and play very similarly, they're just not nearly as hard. When it comes to the plot, it almost focuses more on an anthology of stories rather than a big overarching one. It's still there, it's just the structure of most of the game is more episodic. I'm adding this part in after the fact, but I did want to point out that Mystic Arc did actually get a sequel for the PS1. This one is not an RPG though. Instead, it's an adventure game. It looks pretty interesting. I'd like to check it out more one day. Before wrapping this segment up, I do want to point out how cool the concept art is here. It's got such a unique style. I like it a lot. Overall though, I'm gonna be honest, I don't really think Mystic Arc is an amazing game. It's not bad by any means, I'd say it's above average. It just gets a little boring as the game goes on. You gotta be an old school RPG enthusiast for sure. If that is you though, there's some enjoyment to be had here. And to finish off this list, we have Vern World. Yeah, I wanted to end this video with the most obscure one by far. There's probably a decent amount of you that have heard of every game up until this point. Until now. Vern World was released for the Super Famicom and was developed by the company Dual, a very popular developer that surely everyone knows for their beloved classic Tailspin on the Game Boy. In Vern World, you play as a dude trying to escape from a theme park based on real-life French writer Jules Verne. For the unaware, he wrote famous novels such as Journey to the Center of the Earth, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and Around the World in 80 Days. Not only are multiple characters from his novels in this game, but Jules Verne also is himself. Yeah, from what I've gathered, this is supposed to be a very wacky and zany game. Considering it hasn't gotten translated anywhere, I haven't been able to play it myself. It looks pretty fun though. Graphics have some charm, you can fight with like 5 people in turn-based battles it seems. And yeah, it just looks like a good time. Also, I gotta say, I really like the art in this game, both on the cover of the game itself and on the cover of the guide. They're very different, but are both really cool in their own way. But yeah, I wanted to talk about this game because I feel like very few people even know of its existence. While I can't speak on the quality, the uniqueness alone drives my curiosity for sure. Who knows, maybe one of these days we can finally get a fan translation. To start off the second half of the list, we have Jeanne d'Arc. Jeanne d'Arc was developed by Level 5 and was released for the PSP. Yeah, I know Level 5 is quite popular, however Jeanne d'Arc is easily one of their most unknown and probably their most underrated game. It gets brought up in PSP circles, but not too much outside that. In these circles though, it's commonly stated to be one of the best tactical RPGs on the system right alongside Final Fantasy Tactics and Tactics Ogre. Yeah, it's that good. Okay, well maybe it's not quite as good, especially Final Fantasy Tactics, but hey, what is? It doesn't have the depth of either of those titles and is definitely the simplest and easiest, but that's not always a bad thing. If you're new to the genre and want something not quite as intimidating, this is a great stepping stone. Visually, the game is stunning with really vibrant, full 3D environments. Presentation-wise in general, the game is just excellent. The UI is sharp and there's some nice anime cutscenes. Story-wise, it's a fictional, supernatural retelling of the Joan of Arc story. It's a very well-told plot overall with strong writing.
Your wrist! It's glowing! Don't! Stay back, Leanne! But your arm is... Look! You might be hurt! An armlet? What is it? And where did it appear from?
When it comes to battles, Jeanne d'Arc really shines here too. It's not necessarily groundbreaking combat, but it's executed very well with the cool transformation mechanic. There's also sort of a weapon triangle system, similar to the one found in Fire Emblem. Overall, it's just fun tactical RPG combat. If you're a big fan of tactical RPGs and haven't played this one yet, you gotta check this one out. It's one of the better experiences you'll find in the genre and maybe the best game on this list. It's not my personal favorite, as I do prefer Arc the Lad, Vanguard Bandits, and maybe Sayuki, but personal preferences aside, I can say it is the most polished. It's beloved for good reason and gets a very strong recommendation. It's an absolute shame it's never been released anywhere else besides the PSP. It would have been perfect for a Switch port. If Level 5 can give us an Ni no Kuni Switch port, come on, where's the love for Jeanne d'Arc?
And then release it.
And to start off the second half of this list, we have Albert Odyssey, Legend of Eldine. Yup, this is the thumbnail game I'm sure many of you were wondering about. It was developed by the company Sunsoft and released for the Sega Saturn. It's actually a spin-off of the first two Albert Odyssey games, which never left Japan. Those ones came out for the Super Famicom and were more tactical RPGs. Legend of Eldine, however, is traditional turn-based. Maybe a little too traditional, though. Admittedly, gameplay is probably the weakest aspect about this game. Battles move slow, there's not that much strategy, and late game bosses have a little too much health. There is a 5-person battle party at least though, so that's pretty cool. The story has you playing as Pike, a dude with a magical talking sword trying to lift the curse on his adoptive harpy mother that turned her to stone. It turns into a save the world plot from there, but yeah, pretty basic stuff. With that said, the Working Designs translation does give it a lot of personality. Probably one of their more Working Designs-iest scripts. Where I think the game truly shines is the presentation and the music. Visually, it's like 2D perfected. The colors are so vibrant and the sprites have a lot of charm. But the music though? Dude, this shit is top tier. The world map themes are legit some of the best tracks I've ever heard in any JRPG. Just beautiful compositions. As an overall game, Albert Odyssey is not incredible if I'm being totally honest, but it's very simple and charming, and sometimes that's all you need. The next game we have on our list is Ark the Lad, Twilight of the Spirits. Twilight of the Spirits was released for the PS2 and was developed by the company Cattle Call? Yeah, another pretty obscure developer that had a lot of titles under their belt, but none that were really that popular. We talked about the first two Ark the Lad games in our video about underappreciated RPGs, however, those ones were developed by G-Craft. Same with the third game, which we could have talked about here, but we're already covering a lot of PS1 games today, so Twilight of the Spirits it is. I gotta say, I really love this game. It's one of the most unique tactical RPGs I've ever played. Instead of a grid-based system, every character has their own range they can move in. Your actual attacks have their own range as well. This sort of gives combat a less restrictive feel while still feeling like a tactical RPG. It's super fun. The story is also a strong point. In Twilight of the Spirits, there are two protagonists, Karg and Dark. Yeah, really great names here, I know. It kinda makes it seem like you're playing as good and evil at first, but you'll later find out that things aren't so black and white. I found myself really intrigued as the plot kept going. Karg and Dark each have their own party members they can recruit, which helps give you a feel for both sides. I especially love all the diversity on Dark's side. Very rarely do you get to play as various monsters, so this is pretty cool. When you throw some awesome music in the mix along with actual explorable environments, which is not common in the genre, you have a really solid title here. Too bad I can't say the same about the sequels that pretty much killed the franchise. R.I.P. Ark the Lad. He was a good lad that never got to live long enough to see his redemption arc. Thankfully, Twilight of the Spirits can be bought on the PSN store, so it's very easy to play these days. I played it on my PS4 a few years ago and had a great time. If you want to have a great time yourself, I recommend checking this one out.
Venom Arrow! That's right! Here we go!
And to start this list off, we have Dragon Valor. Dragon Valor was developed by the company Now Production and released for the PS1. I gotta be honest, this isn't the best action RPG on the PS1, but it probably is the most obscure. Well, this is the Grand Stream Saga. I talked about that one more recently though, so here we are. I thought about including Alundra as well, which is an awesome game, but it is a little lighter on the action and more puzzle focused in comparison. Anyway, Dragon Valor though. This is actually the third and last entry in a series called Dragon Buster, none of which made it to America. Considering the original came out in 1984 and its sequel came out in 1989, as you can imagine, Dragon Valor plays quite a bit different. It plays sort of like a beat-em-up with RPG elements. Your moveset has a bit more depth than it might appear at first though. You can do stuff like backflips to evade attacks and flying kicks, and yeah, it doesn't feel that bad to control. You can also learn various magic spells throughout your journey. Between action sections, there's a shop and a world map as well. All this said, the gameplay is fine, however, the story is probably the best aspect, or rather, how it's told. The game spans multiple generations where you can play as your kids and even your kids' kids. There's multiple routes as well depending on who you choose to marry and have kids with. There's 3 different paths and 3 different endings. This is admittedly a really cool feature that more games should use. I mean, what other RPGs let you do this besides Dragon Quest V? This, combined with the gameplay, make for a pretty unique experience. It may not be much to look at these days, or hell, even back then, but hey, it's not a bad time. Oh, I'm adding this part in after the fact, but while it may not look like much, it does sound excellent. It's just a really rockin' soundtrack that just amps you up to go on a killing spree and defeat bad guys. Coming up next, we have Sudeki. Sudeki was developed by Climax Entertainment and came out for the Xbox. It can also be bought on Steam, which is probably the easiest way to play it. Sudeki is pretty unique in that there are 4 different characters you play as in 2 different playstyles. Tal and Buki play like your typical third-person action RPG, and Ailish and Elko kinda play like a first-person shooter. You can swap between characters whenever, so this adds some nice versatility to combat. Combat itself is pretty basic, but it gets the job done. Your melee characters have a variety of 3-hit combos they can do, and all characters have these things called skill strikes, which are like special attacks, and spirit strikes, which are like really strong summons. But that said, it still ends up being pretty repetitious, but what action RPG isn't? I think Sudeki has a pretty nice presentation. I'm a big fan of how vibrant the graphics are. I do also want to say the music here is quite excellent. Some tracks are just super relaxing. I mean seriously, between the music and the visuals, New Brightwater might be one of the coziest locations in all of gaming. The story in Sudeki is, well, it's just okay. I'm not gonna lie, without looking it up online, I couldn't tell you anything what it's about. I don't know, something about a light and dark world and other generic stuff you won't care about at all. This is not a game you play for the story. You play for the charm of the world and the simple, yet fun enough, shut off your brain and play gameplay. Oh, and maybe the character design, too. Yeah, they knew what they were doing. A 5 out of 5 on Maxim? Did they really put this on the cover? Good old Maxim, our #1 source for video game reviews. Sudeki may not be like this shining beacon in the action RPG genre, but it is a pretty fun and enjoyable experience that you can probably beat over a long weekend. And to start off this list, we have a very strange one with Linda Cube. Linda Cube was co-developed by Alpha System and Mars Corporation. It was originally released for the PC Engine, then it later got enhanced ports to the PS1 and Sega Saturn, the PS1 version being called Linda Cube again, and the version we'll be talking about today. It's the only one that has an English fan translation. Holy shit, is this game weird as hell though. In a good way. I mean, look at this monster design, dude. It's so otherworldly and creepy and just really unique. By the way, how dope is this concept art? Probably some of the coolest I've ever seen. It was done by one of the main artists from the Akira movie, and it's not hard to tell. I just love this style. The game takes place on the planet Neo Kenya. The planet is set to be destroyed by a meteor in 8 years, so then God sends down an ark for you to capture 2 of every creature and make your escape. Yeah, it's like a take on Noah's Ark, at least an initial premise. It takes some very out there turns later that I won't spoil, as the less you know about this game, the better. It's quirky, it's terrifying, it's deep, it's like a little bit of everything. Gameplay wise, the battle system is pretty basic turn-based stuff, nothing you haven't seen before. The stuff around combat, like getting monsters to appear, is pretty cool though. It's a bit like Monster Hunter in this aspect. Oh yeah, the whole meteor coming in 8 years thing, that factors into gameplay as well. If you like the timer mechanic in games like Majora's Mask, for example, you'll probably like it here too. Oh yeah, there's also multiple scenarios, giving the game some replayability. There's a new ending for each one, so this is pretty cool. I do also want to point out the atmosphere and the presentation. All the anime cutscenes, complete with the voice acting, really immerse you into the game's world.
Scary! もうこのくらい避けられないの？相変わらずとろいわね。
The music is top-notch as well. It's got this really different type of sound, but it's very entrancing. All in all, Linda Cube Again is easily one of the most bizarre JRPGs to ever exist. It definitely will not resonate with everyone, but for some people this could become like one of your favorites ever. It's one of those type of games. If it looks interesting to you, give it a go for sure. And to finish off this list, we have Dual Hearts. Dual Hearts was released for the PS2 and developed by Matrix Software. If you're still upset about me not including Alundra, the same team behind that game made this one, so, you know, it kinda makes up for it, right? Well, it should, because Dual Hearts is like Alundra's light-hearted spiritual successor. The game actually kinda feels like Alundra meets 3D Zelda meets Persona meets Banjo-Kazooie? Alright, let me explain. You play as the Ruin Seeker Rumble and his magical creature companion Tumble as you travel into people's dreams in order to help them. Sound familiar? Yeah, it's just the concept of Alundra reimagined. Now, I brought up Persona earlier because the design of the dreams you're going into are directly influenced by whose dreams you're going into. Like, you go into a treasure hunter's dream? Well, her dream is designed around a lot of treasure. Go into a painter's dream and, well, there's a big painting aesthetic. The designs of the dreams in general are just really creative. I really like this one with the pop-up picture book aesthetic. This reminds me a lot of Persona 4 and 5 where dungeons are designed around certain characters. Now the 3D Zelda comparison comes into play due to the actual gameplay. Dreams have a big focus on both combat and puzzles. Throughout the game, you'll get various weapons and equipment that you can switch between whenever. Kinda like Zelda. I mean, come on, there's even a hookshot. Unlike Zelda though, you can level up these weapons, which increases their damage and can add more attacks. Now, the Banjo-Kazooie comparison comes from the platforming collectathon elements, and you know your little magical companion Tumble? You can use him for more movement options, just like Kazooie. So yeah, Dual Hearts is like equal part platformer and equal part action RPG. For fans of games like Mega Man Legends, Brave Prince of Musashi, Mystical Ninjas starring Goemon, hell, even Kingdom Hearts, this one will probably be up your alley. Like some of those games as well, there's a central hub town here, and it's quite cozy. I think the game just has incredibly charming presentation all around. This beach is like peak early PS2 vibes. I don't know what's cozier, this or the Sudeki Beach. By the way, I think either of these games would make for a pretty fun retrospective. If you want to vote on what topics we cover in videos like this, consider joining our Patreon. But yeah, anyway, to wrap things up with Dual Hearts. It's not a perfect game, it lacks some polish for sure, but what it lacks there, it makes up for it in charm. The next game we have on our list is Riviera: The Promised Land. Riviera was developed by the company Sting Entertainment and came out for multiple systems, the first of which being on the WonderSwan Color, but that version did not leave Japan. The next version on the GBA did, however. That's the version I'm going to be talking about today.
Riviera: The Promised Land.
There was also an enhanced remake for the PSP that later got ported to the Switch and the PC, but I never played that one and I had the GBA version growing up, so yeah, here we are. Riviera is a pretty interesting game though. The story loosely draws upon Norse mythology and has you playing as a grim angel named Ein as he tries to save the land of Riviera. There's even dating sim elements and a lot of multiple choices that affect how the game plays out along with the ending. So yeah, pretty unique so far. Now we got exploration. You don't control your character directly and instead it's more of a point and click style. In dungeons, how many actions you can take per room, like examining things or opening treasure chests, is based on how many points you have. You get these points by doing well in battle. Oh yeah, battles? These are quite different too. They are turn-based, yes, but kind of imagine like a weapon-breaking system from Breath of the Wild, just in turn-based form. Every attack uses a limited resource, so you have to find a balance between using your weaker weapons on weaker enemies and saving the stronger ones for the bosses. This will undoubtedly not click with everyone, but for some people, it will. The same thing can be said about the game as a whole, honestly. It's super unique and for a specific crowd. If that crowd is you, then Riviera is one to look into. And to finish off this list, we have the most obscure game by far, Energy Breaker. You gotta be a real RPG nerd to know this one. For one, it only came out in Japan. Luckily it does have a fan translation though, so it can be experienced in its full glory. Apparently it took over 10 years to translate, so hats off to everyone involved. I thought about including either Bahamut Lagoon or Treasure Hunter G as a Super Famicom Japan exclusive here, but given that those were made by Squaresoft, they're kind of well known. Well, as well known as Japanese exclusives can be at least. We did talk about Bahamut Lagoon in our video about RPGs that never left Japan though. Check that one out if interested. Anyway, Energy Breaker was developed by Neverland, the same team behind the Lufia series and the Rune Factory series. Yes, the same people that made the absolute classic that is Lufia 2 also made another Super Nintendo RPG that very few people know about. Let me tell you, it is very different though. It combines the exploration of towns and dungeons from more traditional RPGs with tactical RPG combat. Pretty similar to Arc the Lad from earlier in this video and the Shining Force series. What makes Energy Breaker different in this aspect though, is you can change your tone when talking to NPCs. This doesn't really change anything, but it's some nice flavor. There's also a cool isometric view as well, which kinda gives it Super Mario RPG vibes. On the topic of atmosphere though, the music in this game is godly. It's so good and rivals some of Squaresoft's best. It's a very deep and diverse OST with many standout tracks. Even if you don't play the game, at least listen to the OST, you won't be disappointed. I gotta give a shout out to the character art as well. It was made by the same guy who did the art for the Trigun manga, so it's got that really stylized 90s anime look. Trigun is an all-time favorite of mine, so I love this. The tactical RPG combat may look a little basic on the surface, but it's got some unique mechanics. There are these balance points you use per turn, and there's also light and dark side of elements which factors into how you want to build your characters. It's a little more complex than I'm making it sound, but trust me, there is some depth here. Oh yeah, there's also a timer in battles. This doesn't always play a big factor, but when it does, it can add some extra strategy. When it comes to the story, you play as a girl with amnesia by the name of Myra. I know that sounds cliche, but it takes some interesting turns later and gets heavier and deeper than you'd probably think. I won't spoil it, but the characters in the story are quite strong. They do leave an impact on you. Earlier, I called Vanguard Bandits the biggest hidden gem on this list, and, well, that was kind of a lie. Energy Breaker is at least tied for the same. Hardly anyone knows about it, and that should change. If you're a fan of old school 16-bit RPGs and haven't played this one yet, this is a must-play. You've gotta check it out. And to start off the second half of this list, we have the Twisted Tales of Spike McFang. The Twisted Tales of Spike McFang was released for the Super Nintendo and developed by the Red Company, the same team behind the Tengai Makyo series and the Sakura War series. While those two were long-running franchises though, Spike McFang was just an obscure one-off. I'm honestly surprised it even came out in the West. It's actually a sequel to a Japan-only PC Engine title. That one was a 2D platformer. This one, however, is more of a top-down, kind of Zelda-style action RPG. You play as a titular, vampire, magician-looking dude as you try to stop the evil Von Hessler from invading your parents' and your friend Camelia's kingdoms. It's a very lighthearted and humorous and quirky game and not to be taken seriously. The gameplay, on the other hand, you should take seriously, as it's one of those cases where they made the American version harder than the original Japanese version. In result, the American release is a bit more grindy. It is a short game, around 5 hours or so they probably wanted to pad out the length a little. Gameplay, it's pretty standard. You'll be swinging your cape around, throwing your little hat, getting these magic cards which grant abilities, and yeah, it's just simple and good fun. There's nothing you haven't seen before, but just with how charming the world is, it just makes for an enjoyable experience. It probably won't blow you away, but you will walk away with a smile on your face. I mean, with this feel-good and catchy music, how could you not? The next game we have on our list is The Last Story. The Last Story was developed by the company Mistwalker and came out for the Wii. For those that don't know, Mistwalker was a studio founded by the creator of Final Fantasy, Hironobu Sakaguchi. While they played a big hand in a lot of Mistwalker's titles, and a lot of later Square titles for that matter, this was actually the first game he directed since Final Fantasy V. It's also the last one he directed until Fantasian a few years ago. Now again, can a game by the Final Fantasy creator really be considered obscure? Well, it probably is the least obscure game on this list, but it's still pretty obscure. In The Last Story, you play as Zale, a member of a mercenary group and the one who bears the mystical Mark of the Outsider. You get caught up in a conflict to save this place Lazarus from this demi-human species called the Gurak, and yeah, it gets more complex from there, but that's the basic premise. It sounds simple, but it's told and presented in a way that keeps you engaged. A lot of cutscenes and voice acting for a Wii game.
I could never have witnessed a sight like this.
Seeing you smile like that makes me happier than anything.
However, the characters might be the best part. Being that they're a mercenary group, they're all like older and mature and banter off each other well and drink after missions and stuff, and yeah, it's just a pretty cool dynamic. Okay, well actually I take that back. As cool as they are, the music might actually be the best part. It was composed by none other than Final Fantasy series composer Nobuo Uematsu. Is it as good as his best works on Final Fantasy? I mean, I personally don't think so, but like, it still fits the game super well and stuff. As far as gameplay goes, it's well, what do you know, it's a action RPG. They kinda tried going for more of a tactical approach with giving commands to your teammates and stuff like that, but I don't know, it still kinda ended up feeling a little hack and slashy. I mean, it's still pretty fun, just not as deep as it wants to be, I think. Controls can feel a little clunky too, not gonna lie. I think it's pretty funny how Sakaguchi said he created this battle system because he felt his older ones were outdated and he wanted to create a new one that would keep up with the times. However, in retrospect, I think kind of the exact opposite happened. Little quick trip down memory lane, but who else remembers Operation Rainfall? This was an online fan campaign back in the day to get Nintendo to release this game, Xenoblade, and Pandora's Tower in the West. And it actually worked. Come to think of it, Pandora's Tower is probably the most obscure game out of these three. Maybe I should have talked about that one instead. Oh well, just a reason to in the future. I wouldn't say The Last Story is like a masterpiece on the level of the best Final Fantasies, but it is a pretty fun time. Coming up next, we have Shin Megami Tensei Devil Survivor. Yeah, I know what some of you guys are thinking. Shin Megami Tensei? Isn't that franchise like super popular? Well, the mainline series is, and certainly Persona is as well. However, besides these, a lot of the older titles aren't really that known outside of their community. Devil Survivor is a pretty good example. It was obviously developed by Atlus, primarily by members of the at the time recently acquired Careersoft, the team behind the Landgrisser and the Girl Lancer series. It was initially released for the Nintendo DS, however, there would later be an enhanced port for the 3DS with extra features. That's the version I played. The story follows similar beats of previous S&T games while still doing its own thing. You play as a high schooler in Tokyo, there's a demon outbreak, and you summon friendly demons to fight against the hostile ones. This time you summon them from a computer program though.
But why? Are we supposed to bring about world peace or something?
The main character also has the ability to see people's death clocks, which lets him know when they're going to die. Pretty interesting stuff. There's not only different choices you can make, but different endings that you can unlock as well. This gives the game a lot of replayability. That wouldn't matter if it wasn't fun though, right? Well, as you can guess by its inclusion on this list, it is. It's like your standard tactical RPG fare, but with the addition of SMT's famous press turn system. Each character unit also has 3 demons they can fight with, which just adds more elements of party management. I love this. Overall, Devil Survivor is just a quality game. If you're a fan of both Shin Megami Tensei and tactical RPGs, you have to check this one out. It's like a match made in heaven for you. And to start this list off, we have Cosmic Fantasy. Actually, both Cosmic Fantasy 1 and 2, considering this is the North American Cosmic Fantasy Collection. The developer behind these games was Lasersoft, a subsidiary of Telenet Japan. Cosmic Fantasy is a long-running series for the PC Engine, where only the second game, yes, the second, officially came out in English. Why the first one was skipped and the second one was localized, I have no idea. By the way, Workin' Designs did localize that initial English version too. With that said, this remastered collection does feature a new translation though. Oh yeah, it's only available on the Switch as well. In the first Cosmic Fantasy, we play as the Cosmic Hunter Yu and his Tanuki motorcycle-shaped companion, Monmo. They answer a distress signal from a nearby planet and then end up crash landing there to help them out. It's a very bare-bones plot, not gonna lie. I mean, the game came out in 1990, but the characters are really charming. I mean, just look at how great they look in these anime cutscenes. They encapsulate that 80s anime style perfectly. They even have voice acting too.
For
1990, this was really impressive. I will be completely honest though, the charm and the overall vibes are probably the only reasons to play this game. The battle system is as basic as it gets, it's grindy as hell, the translation is not great, and yeah, the game just has a lot of flaws. You really gotta love old school RPGs to resonate with this one. With that said, it makes for a pretty cozy game to play while listening to a podcast or watching a show on another screen or something. The sequel, Cosmic Fantasy 2, is kind of better. This one did actually come out in the West back in the day. Oof, look at that cover as well. If you zoom in from the girl to the cat, it looks like they don't even belong in the same picture. The story involves time traveling and saving a princess, and it's pretty engaging. Cutscenes are still phenomenal looking too. Gameplay, on the other hand, still is not. I mean, seriously, I know I said it already, but it really is turn-based combat at its most basic form. You literally can't miss any of your attacks, same with enemies, there's no critical hits, and yeah, it's like number higher, you win. There is a Cosmic Fantasy 3 and 4 as well, so maybe I'll talk about those in the future. But yeah, very few people know about this series in the West, and I just think it deserves some more recognition. Coming up next on our list, we have Folklore. Folklore was developed by the company Game Republic and came out for the PS3. It's not only an obscure action RPG, but it's probably one of the most obscure PS3 titles, period. It's like a murder mystery with Celtic and Irish mythology and Pokemon-inspired mechanics. Yeah, sounds pretty intriguing, right? The story has you playing as two protagonists, Ellen, a girl whose mom died 17 years ago, and Keats, a reporter for an occult magazine. They both have their own reasons and end up going to a remote Irish village named Doolin where they get caught up in a murder mystery. You have to play as both characters to beat the game, but you can play their chapters in any order. I'd probably recommend doing all of a character's chapters at once though, because otherwise it can feel a little repetitious doing the same areas back to back. The actual gameplay takes place in the Netherworld. This is where the Celtic mythology aspect comes into play. You battle against these souls of the dead, and after defeating them, you can capture them and fight with them in battle. You can then assign these folks, as the game calls them, to each of the 4 face buttons. They can be switched out mid-battle, too. There's over 100 folks in the game, so quite a lot of combinations here. You can also level them up, which is pretty cool. What's also cool is the setting and the atmosphere. In a generation where we were mainly getting a lot of boring brown and gray games, Folklore gave us an extremely colorful and vibrant title. The environments are also varied and unique. I mean, this game came out in 2007? Graphics are obviously better nowadays, but they really haven't improved that much in the last 20 years. Like, compare Folklore to a game from this year. Now compare it to a game from 1989. Yeah, one difference is greater than the other. Anyway, tangent aside, the music in Folklore is also excellent. Really fits the atmospheric and eerie tone of the game. Last thing I'll say is the presentation is quite interesting. Occasionally the game goes to these comic book panel style cutscenes and they're really cool. But yeah, Folklore I actually would call a hidden gem. It's not a masterpiece, but it's very unique and a pretty fun little title. With spooky season coming up soon, this is a great time to check it out. Coming up next, we have a bit of a special entry here as we're featuring 2 games, Phantom Brave and Soul Nomad and the World Eaters. Why am I featuring both? Well, I'll explain in a bit. They both were developed by Nippon Ichi and were released for the PS2. Phantom Brave also got ports of the Wii and the PSP. Most people know Nippon for the Disgaea games, however, they used to make a lot of other tactical RPGs back in the day. Many of them played very differently too, these 2 being a good example. Phantom Brave does not have a grid-based system and gives you more of a range to move in like Twilight of the Spirits. You can also interact with your environments a lot. It's interesting. Like, pretty much every object in the game can be picked up and used as a weapon, complete with their own stats and skills. If that wasn't enough, you can throw enemies off the battlefield as well, and they can do the same to you. You also summon these phantoms in battle to fight for you, and it's a pretty unique system. The story is also fairly unique compared to most other Nippon Ichi titles as well. While there is some humor, it's played a lot more seriously for one. Basically, you play as this 13-year-old orphan girl whose parents died and who can talk to ghosts and shit. Or phantoms, I guess. People think she's possessed and is the source of every problem, so she's treated like shit by everyone.
Marona? Marona, the possessed one? Stay away! Help! Somebody help me!
This leads to some pretty sad and depressing scenes. It does get happier later though. Also, I really love the tropical environments in this game. It's got a really cozy feel. Soul Nomad on the other hand though, while it is also darker than most other NIS titles, it still has a good amount of humor thrown in, primarily from Gig, the Master of Death. He fuses with the soul of your protagonist, who can either be male or female, as you then take on the World Eaters. He can corrupt you though, turning you down a path of evil. This creates a new story branch in the game that has its own scenes and endings. With that said, the gameplay might be the most unique thing about this game. There are grids to move on, however, combat has your squad of units battling another squad of units. It's kinda like Ogre Battle in this sense actually. There are a lot of other really complex mechanics, but it would take too long to explain them all here. Some of you guys are probably thinking, besides the tone, these games sound very different. Why are you including them both? Well, there is a bundle of them called the NIS Classics Volume 1, and it's a great way to check them both out. It's on the Switch and PC. These games certainly aren't for everyone. You kind of know just by looking at it if you're going to vibe with the style or not. But for those that do, there are some really unique experiences to be had here.
Such power!
The next game we have on our list is Black Matrix. Black Matrix was developed by Flightplan and initially came out for the Sega Saturn. However, it later saw enhanced ports to the Dreamcast and the PS1. The PS1 version is called Black Matrix Cross and what we'll be talking about today. The developer Flightplan is a pretty obscure company that is probably best known for this series and the Summon Night series. The latter also largely never left Japan, but at least some entries did. Black Matrix, on the other hand, had 0 titles ever get translated. That unfortunately includes fan translations too. Kinda sucks, as I've always been curious about this series. I remember as a kid, I used to browse the RPG sections and websites like GameFAQs trying to discover new RPGs that never came out over here. And starting with the letter B, Black Matrix was a name I would consistently see all the time. That and other games like Baroque and the Atelier series. So when I saw a copy of the first game in Japan a few months ago for like $5, you know I had to pull that trigger. To be fair, even if it did come out in the West back in the day, my parents would have never bought me it. You see, whereas Summon Night is all lighthearted and cute, Black Matrix deals with heavy religious themes. Between the battle of heaven and hell, hell won and shaped society in their favor. Descendants of the devil rule the land, and descendants of angels are slaves where showing love and kindness can get you killed. Yeah, it took a lot of convincing for my parents to give me Xenogears. There's no way they would have got me this. I can't comment on the gameplay too much as I haven't played it, but it seems like a pretty fun tactical RPG system. The last thing I do want to point out though is the music. Dude, bangers galore. It's got a mixture of rock and hip hop and trip hop and dude, it just absolutely slaps. Yet another overlooked, amazing PS1 OST. But yeah, if this title or any other entry in the series ever gets translated, I would love to check it out. And to finish off this list, we have Destiny of an Emperor. Destiny of an Emperor was developed by Capcom and released for the NES. Even though it's the oldest game on this list, it's definitely not the worst. I'd even go as far as to say it's one of the best RPGs on the system. Story-wise, it's based on the romance of the Three Kingdoms, one of the 4 great Chinese classical novels. It makes for a cool setting, for sure. Where the game really shines, though, is the gameplay. Overworld exploration is like your standard Dragon Quest stuff, but battles are not. You fight with 5 generals and a tactician in battle, and how you get these generals is really interesting. You see, most random encounters consist of preset generals that roam the land. After defeating them in battle, they can potentially join you under the right conditions. There's up to like 150 playable characters, it's kind of nuts. It's almost like Pokemon but with Chinese generals, and if that sounds fucking cool, it's because, well, it is. But that said, most of these characters do not level up, making them only viable for a period of time. Some do though, and these are called Tigers, and yeah, you're gonna want to be Tiger Guy. Before wrapping this segment up, I want to give a shout out to the music as well. It's pretty catchy. Helps the vibe of the game, I think. But yeah, Destiny of an Emperor, not only one of the most obscure NES RPGs, but also one of the best. If you like old school RPGs and haven't played this one, definitely check it out. Alright, and that about wraps up this video. Thanks for watching everyone, we hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please either consider hitting that like button or subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. What are some other obscure JRPGs that we didn't mention here? There's obviously a lot more out there, so yeah, let us know in the comments. As always, just want to give a huge shout out to our Patreon supporters, and of course, an extra special shout out to our top patrons, Chris Carnaccio, Derek Drost, Jam, Jesse Spencer, J-Ho, Joe Bro the Hobo, J Shaw Drums, Jump Rock, Cyano, and Spankwise. All of your generosity and support is very much appreciated. Other than that, thanks again for watching everyone, and hope you have an awesome day. This is Corbin from Gaming Productions. Until next time.